Hi all, welcome back to more Labyrinth, playing the extended campaign solo. I think this is part 40. I've just got a little bit of time before I head off to work this morning, and probably just going to be talking about some comments here, so my guess is it'll take up 20 minutes or so, probably. Maybe longer. There's quite a few comments again. I'm not going to go through them all. So let's go. I don't know what part I've got uploaded up to now. This is from part 34. Not quite sure if there's anything earlier or not. No, I've talked about this, haven't I? The critical middle. I shuffled that back in. Yeah, not shuffled it back in. Placed it back in the middle of the deck. Maybe I've talked about these then. Have I? Oh well, this was. I don't know if I spoke about this one or not, from Tim, 23.5 minute mark. Set is used when there is. This is talking about set, select, and roll. If you need, I mean, we don't need to know about roll, but the difference between set and select. Set is used when there is no choice involved. For example, Schroeder and Chirac says set Germany and France is soft. Select is used when there is a choice. For example, the card here, Cyber Warfare, says select posture of either China, Russia, or India. So fair enough, that explains it quite clear, right enough. If I'd thought about it that way, I probably would have got it. So thanks, Tim. I would say the event instructions either has a typo and should say select, or since the bot doesn't really have a choice, it's always going to choose the opposite of US posture. They figured they might as well say set. So there's two replies to this. Alright, okay. It's just me saying... Yeah. Yeah, seems like a typo. Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough. But this is the thing, I like to well, I don't like to, but I want to bring these things up if there's little mistakes, if there's little questions, if there's little doubts. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, my videos are lengthy and go on a bit and go deep into things, and I go over and over things. I know that, guys. I understand that. If you don't like it, then you don't need to watch that stuff. I just feel like maybe, yeah, whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's well. There's two or three other things that are that come up later that I'm just trying to understand some of the things, question some of the things, and we know that there's mistakes out there, and there's probably more errata in this game, as there is in lots of games. And it's quite nice. I quite enjoy whittling these things out. I've enjoyed in the past finding out that I've found something that nobody else has found. I remember getting a comment, or I think it was something I posted on BGG, and John Butterfield replied to it, saying that he was surprised that this had went so long without anybody noticing it. So there's things out there, and it sort of makes you feel quite good about the fact that you've found something. And I'd like to think that also I've added some errata to quite a few of the games that I've played through, but it does require a sort of deep dive into them and questioning things that maybe shouldn't be questioned, maybe. Some of them shouldn't. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are like, Grant, what are you on about? Why are you going down that rabbit hole? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm not sure where I'm going with this. But anyway, thanks for that, Tim. That was, yeah, that explained it to me quite clearly. What are we here? Given the priority, this is 31 minute 55 second. 12.3.5 gives the priorities for setting or rolling for posture. Does not tell you to use the GI column of the priorities table, so why would you? Question mark. Yeah, here's, I suppose, one of the things. Okay, it doesn't tell me to do that. Fair enough. Yeah, it doesn't. And I think I replied to this was, I think this is, yeah, I said fair enough. Well, maybe I should finish it. So why would you? Okay, so then 12.3.12 then says if the instructions of the event instructions table in section 12.3 do not identify a single target country, choose random amongst remaining candidates, so choose randomly. The rules tell you exactly what to do in this case. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But I'm going to go down these things and wonder and question and doubt and whatever. That's how I'm going to do it. But, you're replying to my doubts there as well by saying, look, that's how it is. There's nothing else to look into. So, and anyway, my reply is fair enough. But as this is one of the few, and I've got first maybe in brackets, it might be the first occasions when I've had to that I've randomised, then I felt that it was worthy of some thought. And as you will see, I do randomise eventually. Cheers. Yeah, I think it probably was one of the first. Maybe not. I think we've had 2 or 3 now, where you've had to just select between 2 countries. Was Italy and Spain not the other one, or is this the one we're talking about? I'm not so sure it is. Sorry, I'm not got time to study and click on timestamps and look in that as well. It is a randomised between the 2, and yeah, he rightly points out that the rule does say if there's 2 and you can't break it down. But I suppose I'm always looking for, and the fact that this was maybe the first time we'd done it, I thought, right, why are we not looking at a flowchart or a table here? Just randomise between the 2. Fair enough. This one from John, 44 minute 24 second. Right, okay, and again, like I say, I'm not good time to click on timestamps or anything like that, so I'm just trying to get things out here. So he's talking about us being world soft here, I think. The marker would not move if you were already at world soft 3 and there was an untested / hard country. Soft 3 would remain soft 3. You're the only one that created 4 or 5 imaginary boxes on the left of the track. Okay. Yeah, there's no boxes there. I know that's as far as it can go. I know it can't go any further, and I know it can't go any further that way when it's on 3. I understand that, but am I wrong in thinking that if I count up soft right now and hard, and soft is at 7 and hard is at 2, then yes, this is where this goes. But if hard reduces by another 2, it stays there. If it reduces by another 1, it stays there. If it reduces by 3, it goes there. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm only working it out that if I want to stay at soft 3, I'm keeping it in my head that I can only lose 2 more points to hard to stay at soft 3. What's wrong with that? I'm like, I don't know. I know I'm talking about imaginary boxes, and I'll tell you what, if you say that I'm the only one, okay, well, I'll leave that there. Maybe somebody else watching the video might say, well, I kind of look at that too, Grant. So he says, in other words, if global war and terror is already at its max difference, don't bother with global war and terror and do something else. Again, if I know that this is maxed, and if I want to keep that maxed to gain that prestige right at the end of the turn, then I'm going to consider that. I'm not going to sort of ignore it. Sorry, I'm going to. That's part of. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I want to move it further soft, but I'm going to look at it and consider it. Again, maybe I should click on the times. Right, hold on. The timestamp's about me talking about the event I'm trying to play and whether it would move it that way, but the bot wouldn't do that because I think we were hard at the time or something, or whatever. And then the additional bit that what have I done here? The additional bit that I've added was the card says it gives 3 options. It's the one that says or this or that. So anyway, well, let's finish this comment. In other words, the global war on terror is already at its max difference. Don't bother with global war on terror. Do something else. And I don't know why placing a cadre is not on the instructions. So this is the little things that I'm bringing up. You know, he says this could well be the case where the third option has been added later during development and they missed the change on the bot side of the game. Okay, so maybe the designer one day will come along, maybe see this or read that comment and say what they're talking about and look into that. and see that it says CAD, it gives you two options, and you can see that there's possibility that the two options you might not be able to apply them, and the third option's not on the event instructions. Just as something else I'll talk about in a sec as well. Anyway, and that might help. It might go into errata. They might change it. Maybe not. Maybe it's meant to be like that. I don't know, but I'm just bringing it up, mentioning it. Right, let's see. Okay. 34. I'm trying to go on the next bits. That's 34 as well. 35, right. Without going into this deeply, two things coming up that there seems to be a bit of debate about. Hammer here comments that the rule about wasting your ops if you don't specify your actions just doesn't seem right to me. Feels like if that were the case, designers would have written it as a concise rule in of itself instead of vaguely alluding to it. Your choice though, Grant. Yeah, I mean, I'm just bringing this one up because it was John that brought this up, and I wanted to look more into it, and I'm not 100% sure everything about this is right. There's different ways to look at it. John replies to this one: you don't lose the ops if you don't specify your action. You may gamble on things. The case that cannot be disputed is the war of idea in untested country. Now, I agree with that because that is written in the rules. And he says, and may end losing your ops if you're unlucky. In any case, this is a choice you made / a risk you took. Yeah, because it is talked about that you can do an operation in an untested country. It then becomes tested and then could fail due to it. But could it be that that's the only thing we're talking about here? My question, or my, actually, you might not have seen this yet, because imagine you're going to reply to it. Oh gosh, I can't remember what it was now. It was like me trying to do an operation in a country that was illegal based on the country's situation, which is just the same as doing what you suggested, doing a regime change, targeting a country. You're declaring your operation as regime change, targeting a country with 3 ops, but at the time you're soft. And you said that, you stated that it doesn't check until come the time you actually carry out the operation. If you happen to be hard, then you score. If you happen to be soft, you lose the ops. So I think the one that, well, you'll probably see it. I can't remember what it was, but it seemed even more a bit deeper that you were targeting a country to do something that wasn't allowed, but could have changed before you actually done it, and you might have got it allowed. So it might, I guess, I think I'll leave a question there for you about it. Carrying on. Right, this is, what did I say? This was 35 minute, 32 second mark. They're on one side, so that's fine. No, that's not. Hegel was an unassociated event played by the bot, so reserve should be at 2. Exclamation marks all over the place. Right, waited till the end before pressing the comment button, but you didn't catch it this time. Okay, I didn't catch it. You caught me. Okay. Right, so, sorry if I'm sounding grumpy. Just out of my bed this morning, but to be honest, I don't know. I'm a bit flustered by some of the comments. I know you're only commenting on my game and whatever, but I don't know. Yeah, it looks like I missed Hegel playing as an unassociated event. I think it's an easy one to do. I've almost done it in this playthrough 2 or 3 times probably, and just managed to catch up. I suppose that's what Jones said. I waited till the end before pressing the comment button, but yeah, okay, you got me. So it should be 2 reserves. I was kind of hoping they might be at 1 because I could just bump it up, because at the time they were only on 1. I think it's only fair I give them 1. I'm just going to give them that now. I mean, I know the card was 2, but at the time they should have got the 2. They were sitting at 1, so it would have went to 2. And I've since used everything there, so I'm just going to give them 1. Yeah, you can decide what you think about that. Right, and then this is the other bit that's sort of in doubt between the guys, I think, and myself a bit, although I believe that when John first commented on that, I thought, fair enough, yeah, I don't think I can do this. I need to declare my operation. When you look at it in the rules, it isn't crystal clear. I give you that. It's not crystal clear. It could be read either way, to be honest. So at the 6 minute 15 second mark, Tim says, you don't have to specify that you're playing it for a regime change in Egypt. You just have to say that you're playing it for a deploy operation, since regime change is a type of deploy operation. Then if the leak event doesn't end up changing your posture, you could still conduct a normal deploy operation somewhere else, or even with a withdrawal. Yeah, I mean, that, I don't know, that sounds like you're trying to... But yeah, what he follows up on this 5 hours later, I think it was, that he says, I'm now beginning to doubt whether you even need to declare the type of operation before triggering the jihadist event. I decided to see how it's implemented in the Steam app, and it allows you to choose what operation you want to perform after triggering the event. The exception is reassessment. In that case, you choose which 2 cards to use, then choose the order of when any events trigger and when the posture switch is carried out. So that's what he's saying the Steam game would do. Jean comes back saying, I heard so many bad things about the Steam app that I would not rely on its implementation. The automated bot does ask you to choose your operation before deciding if you want to conduct it after or before the event. I'm not saying this is a proof either. For me, the thing that made me play it like this is more Trevor's answer that I mentioned in a previous comment. Labyrinth is often played in tournaments. We should be able to find recordings or session reports from these, and this should be clear about how they do it in official 2-player games. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we should be able to find information about this. I mean, I'd love to just go and ask a question, but I think the only guys that are going to have a stab at answering it are the guys that are commenting here, which is unfortunate. But I know, like Jean commented earlier, these designers have moved on from this game. This game's 10 years old, etc. So you're maybe unlikely to get... But it might be worthwhile just chucking out the question there. So I might do that, you know. As it's a simple question. When you're playing as a solo player, do you have to declare your operation in full before the bot? I mean, none of yous have also commented on the fact that, well, maybe yous have. Yous haven't certainly delved into the fact that, because I even left it with, do I have to say that I'm going to deploy into, is that enough? I'm going to do a deploy operation. Or do I need to say I'm going to deploy into Egypt with so many troops? Or other things like that. Do I have to spell it all out? Or is the word deploy enough? Or is the answer you can wait and see what the bot does with the event. You can see what the event happens, then say, right, I'm now going to do, with my 3 ops, I'm now going to do a deploy, blah, blah, blah. So, okay. Right, and then from Tim at the 32-minute 25-second mark, again, don't make up event instructions that don't exist. Yeah, and it's talking about me looking into an event that I believe probably should have event instructions on it, right? I might be wrong. I'd like to go back and look at it, but I've not got the time or the energy right now to do that. But it was very similar to the event instructions. Well, actually, the event instructions I was reading for the event at the time made me think back to a previous event that I just played not that long ago and wondered why there wasn't similar event instructions. I'm not trying to make this game harder for me. It's hard enough. My response is, I for sure do not want to make up any new event instructions as the game is proving hard enough. I was only highlighting the fact that this appeared odd and may have been accidentally left out. And as you have seen, I played the event as is. I didn't add instructions or anything like that. Again, he's saying, look, it doesn't say anything there, just move on. But I'm only bringing up what I feel could be an error within the rules. It could be something that's missed out. I hope you understand that. I'm not trying to make up my own rules. Okay, and John 52-second mark. Try to make this timestamps more accurate. Easier said than done, as you like to digress 3 or 4 times during several minutes when you start discussing one specific point. Okay. And at 20 minute 40 second, you mentioned another timestamp that when I click on it, points directly to Grant saying, if you want to leave a comment on that. What would you have preferred? Going back to the beginning of the question is, as I said above, not an easy task. Maybe when you really want to answer a specific question, then repeat the question after having shared all your thoughts process with us and ask for help. So if you use that as a timestamp, you'll be able to understand what you were asking. Okay. My answer is I didn't see every timestamp was off. Also, you have to remember that some of these comments are from me quite far back in the playthrough. Cheers. Yeah, I mean, I will scatter things about and go over things and come back to things and whatever. I mean, you don't need to reply to these, though. You don't need to answer questions or, it's probably better, I guess, if the answer's structured in a way that is clear to understand without clicking on the timestamp, or clearer to understand without clicking on the timestamp. But that's more work for yourselves as well. But if that's the case, don't bother. Don't feel like the need that you've got to reply to these things. Yeah, I might say, yeah, what do you think, guys? Leave your comments here or whatever or anything like that. But I mean, you don't have to. I'm playing the game. If I do something wrong, yeah, tell me. Tell me I've missed Hamler's reserves for the bot. Tell me that. I mean, just tell me that though. But anyway, right. And I think this could be finally. I'm not going to read through all this right now because I don't have time. In fact, I do need to watch my time. Right. Well, yeah, no, I don't need to read through it all because so at the 25-minute and 10-second mark, Jean comments, you're playing a bowler scare, your last card in hand. Okay. I will take this opportunity to come back to an older comment that you briefly mentioned once but apparently did not understand properly. Correct. I didn't understand it properly. I'm pretty sure I left my comments in the video that I wasn't quite clear on what you were meaning. Yeah. So I'm glad you've come back to me with this. I have been reading this rule wrong. So I'm very glad that you've put me straight on it. Yeah, and then the next part is about him explaining it all. Go and read it. And I know, sorry, I'm not reading it all out. It's quite a lot, but right at the end, he says, read rule 5.2.2 and 5.2.4. So my reply is brief, but then we'll look at the rule. Okay, I understand this now. I was reading that rule wrong. Thanks for your feedback, and I will discuss this in my next recording, which I'm doing now. So 35, we must have been, that was, I think that's the last sort of comments. Oh no, there's 36. Right, well this one's huge, and yeah, I should have looked more into it when he mentioned it before, because, what he was saying didn't make any sense to me, and that should have triggered something that, look, and by the way, you guys know this game far better than me, right? And maybe that's why I leave things like, what do you think here, guys? What do you think? You know the game better than me. And bear in mind, I'm trying to record it as well as play it and not make mistakes. It's no, I'm not saying that it's like, yeah, anyway. Right, yeah, and the fact that, like I say, I didn't understand, I should have looked more in it. So 5.2.2, was it? It's talking about action phases. Right, no, I'll not read it all out. I'll just look at the last sentence here. The last sentence here says, in its action phase, the US side may discard or hold the last card remaining in its hand, and then it references 5.2.4, right? So I don't know if it's just me that that thought about this way. I'd like to think others might have got caught with this too. Like to think, that's the wrong way to say it, Grant. I'd imagine that it's possible others may have got caught with this too, but maybe not. So I'll read it again. In its action phase, the US side may discard or hold the last card remaining in its hand. So I've got one card in my hand, right? I can play it. I could discard it, or I could hold it in my hand, okay? Right, 5.2.4. Well, I'll read the rule first, and then I'll explain what I thought about this, what I thought it meant. 5.2.4, final US card in any US action phase. That's quite important. In any US action phase that the US side is holding only one card, it may play it, discard it without effect, or hold it. If the jihadist side has expended its cards and the US side holds its final card, resolve any plots and end the turn. Okay, now if you read it and think about it, it's quite clear, but here's how Grant thought about this, right? The bot's got cards left to play, right? I've got one card left in my hand. He's got one card left to play, and I've got one card left in my hand. I'm not going to turn over because I'm not looked at my cards yet. And he's got one card left to play, and it's my turn, right? Now, I can either play this event, or I could discard the card, or I could keep the card. Now, my thinking of that was, I'm going to play it if I want to, or I'm going to discard it if I want to, or I'm going to keep it for the next turn. So this, to me, this would say to me, I'm keeping this card for the next turn. My turn's over now. Well, that's not what it says. I agree. Could it be interpreted that way? Well, me here, behind this camera right now, that's how I interpreted it, right? What actually happens is, he's got one card left. For as long as he's got one card left, I can choose to, I could play this event, I could discard this card, I could keep this card. He's still got a card left. It's still in my hand. He then plays his last card. I then get the choice again. I can discard this card, I can play this event, or I can keep this card. Now, because he's no cards left in hand, whatever I decide to do there, if I decide to keep the card, it then will go to my next turn. That's how I understand it now. It looks like that's how it is in the rules. And that's why John's trying to bang it into my head and explain that what he was trying to explain before about what I should have done. Because it allows us to see what their last card is. It might change our thinking on playing that event. It could be a good event that we want to play, but we just want to see what his last card is. And this is, I mean, I understand you tried to explain this to me earlier, John, and fair enough. I hope you can understand that. I'm just explaining how I read it. I read the rule wrong. Right, quickly, because I'm short of time now. At 8 minutes 13 seconds of this is part 36. I left a comment here. I think there are two mistakes. 14 minute. Sorry, no, I'm trying to rush. Can I do this? I think I might need to come back to this, guys. So I'll come back to the comments from part 36. Right, thanks for your comments. I hope you don't think I'm trying to get on to yours. I know you're only trying to help. I mean, sometimes I read comments in a way that I'm sure you're meaning no, you're not having a go or anything like that. But sometimes, I don't know, I just maybe pick them up the wrong way and whatever. And sometimes I might leave comments and answer comments in a way that maybe you see it that way. But we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to enjoy the game, play it properly, and yeah, and it's a real challenge here as well, because the game is not going really well. I'm pretty we're not going to survive here. So I don't really know what I'm going to do. You know, I got up this morning and reading some of the comments, I did feel like thinking, look, once they hit 6 resources, I'm just going to jack it in and, well, that's them win the game. I'm not going to carry on and maybe move on to something else. But I don't know. I'll see. I've got time at work. I've still got to watch back parts 37, 38 and 39 now, so I've got a wee bit of chance today and tomorrow to do that. Might get a chance to play tomorrow evening. So that's 30 minutes in there and no gameplay. So maybe another comment left in the header. Or pinned to the comments, which I've started doing, and I think that's working better for you. Alright. Okay, I'll just put this on pause and be back when I'm back. Okay, cheers. Hi all. Right, back to continue part 40. Although I was at first thinking I was going to restart part 40. I have just watched this first half of it back. I got up early. I was going to work. I was rushing a little bit. There was some comments that were bugging me a little bit, and then I was a bit grumpy, tired. So I may have came across that way a little bit. However, I watched it back, and I don't think it was as bad as I first thought. So I'm going to leave it and just maybe I'll probably leave a comment in the header or pinned, mentioning the fact that I was a bit grumpy about some things, and that's how it came out maybe. But there's quite a few more things still to talk about yet, so I feel like this part might just be a whole lot of going over things. Yeah, and I actually almost felt like I don't think I'm going to bother putting the camera on. I've got a bit of time here as well, and I was kind of looking forward to coming home and doing it, and then just I don't know, some of the things that are going on in the game, and not only that, things are just not going well. It really looks like I'm going to lose eventually, I'm going to and not really get to do much sort of fun stuff while losing. I think I'm just on the back foot all the time. Right, anyway, let's get finished with some of these comments. Well, first of all, I came across a response from Trevor, and I don't know what the thread was, but because I was going to go and ask this question about how do you, when you play an event for the opposing side, do you have to announce an operation before the event gets played out, or can you wait and the event getting played out and then announce your your operation? I was also wanting to know that if you had to announce an operation, how far do you have to announce that? Do you have to say, how do you have to spell it out? I'm going to announce a deploy operation. I'm going to do it in such and such country. I'm going to do it with so many troops. I get the feeling nobody's sort of coming back with that one, and I get the feeling that that's no, you just need to announce what operation you're doing and then work it out later. However, it's all coming a bit ahead, this really. So basically, without going over Trevor's response, the thread was asking basically this question that I'm just asking, because I thought somebody must have asked that, and I typed, what was my search for it? Event timing? That was my search. So if you go event timing, it's the first thread I think that comes up, and I didn't need to look any further. It's quite a big thread. Eventually Trevor comes along, because some folk think you do need to announce operations, some folk think you didn't. So eventually Trevor comes along, so he's the first one with some authority. And, quickly, this is the way I see event cards played. The US players declare what type of operation they will do. Now, why is it just saying US player? Well, I suppose it's maybe taking it from that side, because it could be either, couldn't it? It doesn't need to be. Of course, this is on the, and it's probably about the bot as well, and this was on the base game forum. So, okay, and there's only the jihadist bot. But that's what we were playing. We were playing as a US jihadist bot. So a US player declares what type of operation they will do. And he quotes second sentence of 6.31. I'm not going to go deeply into it. Number 2, a card is played and the ops value revealed. And then, apparently this is a wee bit different throughout. If a reassessment operation is being conducted, 2 ops value cards must be played at the same time as one action. 3, if the ops card has a jihadist event associated with it, the US player can choose to resolve the event either before or after the operation. Right? And then reassessment, Yeah, it depends. If both cards have got, if you're doing a reassessment, both cards have got jihadist cards, you get to decide which one goes off first, or you get to decide if you carry out the operation first or whatever. But anyway, the bottom line is there, he's saying that you declare what operation you're going to do first, right? So to me, that seems the first person to come along with a bit of authority. But so I quoted this, and then Tim comments to this. Yeah, I've seen that. I'm still not sure that's what Volko originally intended, or if that's how most people play it. He seems to be stretching the rules a bit to come to that conclusion. Right, again, these are... I'd rather not read through all of these, or we're just going to be here all night. I mean, apologies for you guys that have typed in your comment. I mean, I've read through it all. Hopefully I'll get around to replying and whatever. But go and read it. So basically, Tim's thoughts on that are a bit like, I don't think that's right, and I don't think that's what was intended, even though that Trevor said this, right? And then strangely, and this kind of has thrown me, that Jean comes in. Yeah, I agree, and helped by keeping me uncomfortable with what he said, and you helped by keeping me uncomfortable with what he said. So. That must have been some other things that Tim said. Lesson learned, it's not because you're the designer that you cannot provide wacky answers. Not sure that the wacky is the right word, but you get the idea. So basically, I think they're saying that Trevor's reply to this is like, maybe shouldn't be founded as like proper, whatever. Actually, I didn't see that comment by Jean. It was only 10 minutes ago, that's why. So it's a new comment. But the comment he did apply to this is, I've discussed with Marco Putri. He is the developer on the next extension and a big fan of Labyrinth. And it was interesting. Not sure what Grant will do with what I'm about to say, though. So he confirmed that what Trevor said is the most official answer to the question, but he also said that he and no one against whom he played is doing it like this. If a player wants the event to be executed first, he just says event first, shows the card, and that's it. It keeps as a surprise / as a secret the operation and all related details. So this is how folk are playing it. I took this opportunity to ask him whether the next expansion would come with clarifications for the previous ones, and he said, no, we focus on what's new. We'll address anything related to what the new extension introduces, but we won't try to aggregate 15 years on BGG question. So at the end of the day, I know what I will do, and then in brackets he's got ignore Trevor's answer. Let's see what Grant decides. By the way, when we'll see more things, Militia will probably face another similar dilemma where one of Trevor's answers seems quite unpopular and ignored by many players. Right, no, I dare say we'll come to this. But I was kind of like, hello? This is Jean's response that, so at the end of the day, I know what I will do, ignore Trevor's answer. Let's see what Grant decides. Grant started by playing it that way. Grant started by playing an ops card and putting it here, and it was a jihadist event, and he carried out the event. Then he said, right, and I'm going to now do this. What did Grant get told? So I replied to this. Thanks for the info, but I'm a little confused. Weren't you the one who agreed with the above, as in what Trevor's just said? And I mean, sorry for like going on this, but I mean, come on. So Jean comes back. I'm not sure I said that. Maybe I did. I mostly try to explain what I read / understood from several BGG threads, including the only official part, which was Trevor's answer. That's the first time I've seen Trevor's answer. I don't think you mentioned that at all, Jean. I mean, if you did, I don't recall reading it or hearing it. And now I'm interested to see what you'll do in this case. So officially in the rules, there's nothing that clearly states that you must announce your operation. Yeah, I mean, I thought that from the beginning. It was you that steered me in this other direction. I mean, don't get me wrong, I felt like you must be right. You seemed assured about it as well, with the way you came across with your comment. So apparently many players of the base game never even thought about asking this question and played like this for years. Again, that's, if I go back to my playing of the game initially, I mean, it's been a while since I had a shot at the game. I'm sure I played it that way. You know, I know I can leave the event to go either before or after my operations, and it never really crossed my mind that I needed to declare what operation I was doing. It was only when you brought it up, to be honest. But I thought you were right. Like I say, you seemed sure about it. When someone asked the question at the time Awakening was released, he got answers from the Labyrinth veterans that it was not required, one even saying that he discussed it with Volko. Then Trevor was called for an official answer, and by the boom, he answered something opposite to what the majority of the players were thinking. In one answer, BGG thread, able to overwrite existing rules and how players have played for many years. Remember some of the answer from Ben Holland, Fields of Fire case. I don't know what Grant will do considering this situation. Yeah, I mean, Ben Hull came out with a lot of things that weren't really in the rules, and I think a lot of the guys were confused about it and whatever. But I mean, I think since Andrew and Colin got on top of things, then it's much better. But sorry, but I then had to quote John's quote to me. I'd like to look at when this was, because I got a reply from saying that was ages ago. It wasn't ages ago to me, and it's been how I've been trying to play the game, because you said it and you seemed so sure about it. So what he said to me was, I'm really sorry, but you cheated. But don't worry, we forgive you. I mean, there's a smiley face there, so fair enough. But this is the text. You cannot execute the event before choosing what operation you want to do. You're not playing the card for the event, obviously, so you play it for an operation. You then need to know what operation it is, and then, only then, can you decide to execute the event before executing your operation. That's what he said to me. I mean, I took that on board, and I thought you knew what you were talking about and whatever, but I mean, it's not clear. It'd been better if you'd said, this is how I think it should be, because you've totally turned everything about now. You're thinking the other way. So I just got a reply from him just recently, 16 minutes ago. Oh, that one, that was ages ago! Exclamation mark. And yes, this is when I found the famous thread where Trevor said what he said at that time. Why didn't you tell me this then? I don't feel like you've explained that you found this thread, Trevor said this, and you don't agree with it or something. I don't know. I mean, well, let's be blunt and say that, look, if you're stating something that I'm doing that's wrong, then please be sure about it. Please make sure you know that it's wrong what I'm doing, because I was playing it that way. So, rather frustrating. I mean, I know things can be thought about that way and then change, but I mean, the fact that you're not even recognising that you were the one that actually made me change my way of playing the game regarding this is a little bit much, to be honest. But anyway, I don't know. It's a bit... I don't know. Yeah, anyway. So now I'm sounding even more grumpy than I was in the first part. That's me not out of my bed. I'm home for work. I'm off on holiday now for a week and a bit. Should be feeling quite good, and I'm getting myself all worked up with things like this, but yeah. Okay, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back and do it the way I was playing it, and not speak about an operation. Sometimes I probably will talk about an operation, but other times I'll just say, right, I want to play this event before I decide what I'm going to do. Because that's what I tried to do that time and got told I was cheating. So, anyway. Okay, right, let's move on. Right, so, getting back to where I was at, because I never quite finished things from part 30 because I had to dash off to work. I left a pinned comment, that I think there are, I've got a timestamp, 14 minutes, 15 seconds. Sorry, this is from part 36. I think there are two mistakes here. First, the cell should be placed active. Oh God, where was the cell? In Italy. I think it's in Italy, isn't it? Well, hang on, no, a pot was placed as well. Was that placed in Italy too? Yeah, it must have been Italy. It was. So this should have been placed active. And I didn't realise that. I noticed it when I was watching it back. The other thing was the card. Right, well, we should probably get the card, actually. Hang on. Right, no, the card's the Paris attack. So I was got to the timestamp. And I've found it. So Italy was a target. Oh, it must have been a Schengen country, and then we must have randomised between. Was it not both Italy? No, I can't remember. Anyway, Italy's a target, and it was the result we had was number 5, 1 pot and 1 sale, and the card. That's what the card threw me. I could do with getting the card out actually. Paris tax, is it that far away? Maybe a wee bit down actually, Grant. There it is, right. So, yeah, and it's when I was watching back on this, and I thought 1 and 2 plot, and I remember looking at that and saying, well, that must be a number 1 and a number 2 plot, and there's 3 plot and 2 cells, 2 plot and 1 cell, 2 plot, and then the one we got was 1 plot and 1 cell, and I just thought it meant 1 plot marker and 1 cell, but I think now, I mean, I'm still not 100% sure, but I'm just going by some of the other ones, that it means a number 1 plot and 1 cell. And the cell was to go active. Cells are placed active side up, says it there. It turned out to be a number 2 plot, I want to say. It made no difference. They've all been put back now as well, so it made no difference. If it had been a WMD, that might have caused trouble because I would have removed that and whatever, but it wasn't. But it just threw me. I just thought it meant 1 plot and 1 cell, but you know, even if you just rolled the bottom one, number 6, and you were just doing that without looking at the rest of these, you would kind of think it was a random pot marker, wouldn't you? That's what I thought. I thought it was, mine was a number 5, so I thought it was a random pot marker and 1 cell. And to be honest, I don't know. It's only when you start looking at some of these other ones that you start thinking, because that says 1 and 2 pot. So it's not 2 plots, it's not 3 plots, it's a number 1 and a number 2 plot. So anyway, it's just the way I read it. Whether that's just me reading it that way, quite possibly. Anyway, so quickly moving on, 36-minute mark. The Awakening errata, and this is from Tim. Awakening errata and frequently asked questions document clarifies which country are in Africa. It's only available on BGG and not on GMT's website for some reason. Yeah, and I keep forgetting to bring that. I've got that down the stairs and I keep forgetting to bring it up. From John, 8 minutes 13. For info, I have the latest printing from the Awakening expansion, and next has indeed been added on this card as event descriptions, which are now in the rulebook 2. That's the same card, isn't it? Whereas we had to struggle a bit, and it says use next highest. So that has been put in errata, but we found that eventually, but it was difficult to work out what it was meaning without that missing word, but anyway. So that's good that they've errated that anyway, for sure. Yeah. Hold on. I wasn't going to bother reading this out, but I will. 13-minute 50-second mark. Jean quoting what I'm saying at the time, maybe is to get clear about what's going on. I don't need to look for that, choosing between Spain and Italy. It's when we're choosing between the two, and a roll of dice to randomise it. But he says, why not using the pot column or the priority table? This would give Italy 2 due to the lowest recruit value. I played in my head your thinking when reaching lowest rec number, and it was fun. I'm assuming he's meaning, I think he's sort of making a point of the fact that I like to try and find a table or a flowchart to look for. I mean, yeah, I've been, because most things require that, I suppose I've been looking more at that. This time I go straight for a randomised between Italy and Spain. There's, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's nothing to there's nothing to say I should look at the plot column. But then previously I've looked at all these columns. The one before I looked at all columns, didn't I? We were over here. I wanted to say it was between China and India, wasn't it? And I felt like there might have been a difference because this one's fair. This one's good. I mean, there's no difference. There was no difference between these two. Now, does that matter, Grant? I don't know if it matters, but I mean, I suppose you have to be guided. You have to be guided if you're going to use one of these tables. You do need to be told, don't you? If we're deciding between some countries, it depends what we're doing in them. What were we doing there? What were we doing? I think we were just rolling posture on one of them, were we? Or switching one's posture? Oh no, this must be when we selected Italy. Sorry, my bad. It must have been because it was... And the reason it was between Spain and Italy was because they were both hard. Is that right? Or were they both soft? Oh, God, you know what? I don't know. Right, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave that there. I don't know. Like I say, I think it's just looking at the fact that I look into things in a different way and saying to me, why didn't you do it that way? You normally have done it that way or something like that. So, right, moving on. Right, okay, this one's interesting, although I disagree with this, but he starts off by, I would not play it like this. So, that's better than you saying that that's not the rule or I'm cheating. Unless you know for sure, unless you know for sure. So, yeah, I know what this is, I think. So it's at the 50-minute mark, movable cell adjacent. So what he's saying here is, we've got poor moves on 1 to 4 more cells and troops and militia where jihad success possible. I can't click on the timestamp, he's put an extra colon in there. It's at the 50-minute mark. Right, but I know it's between... Yeah. It's between Somalia and Syria, isn't it? Oh, hang on. Right, yeah, so it's between... We've got a poor moves on 1 to 4 more cells and troops. This is the question we're asking. To be honest, it's as is just now. Iraq has got 1 to 4 more cells and troop in this poor Muslim. Somalia has got 1 to 4 more cells in this poor Muslim. In actual fact, this would do a major jihad right now, but it didn't have as many cells in it, right? So this would have been a no at the time. But it had 1 to 4 more cells. It didn't have 5 more cells as it has here. So that was the two options, Iraq and Somalia, right? So we move to this box here. So, and I know that we've got an adjacent cell to Iraq with these cells in Syria. They were there as well. Whether there was that many of them or in that state, I think they were. I think there was 4 of them there. There's not, however, an adjacent cell to Somalia, right? So I come here and I say, right, among the candidates, find the travel to priority. Then it's got a semicolon. Then I ask a question, is there a movable cell adjacent? Right. So what I do here is I look at the candidates. To find the candidate, I need to do the travel to priority. So I go through this, 1 to 4 more cells and troops, right? We know we can stop there. We then come here, because we've got between Iraq and Somalia, we then come down here, and the first one that applies is Basij regime, okay? Which targets Somalia. So then, and don't get me wrong, I start doubting, this doesn't have a cell adjacent. Iraq does have a cell adjacent. Should we step back to look at Iraq and say there's a cell adjacent? And then say, this is a yes, and come down here and travel, and then one of these cells would travel. Well, I don't know how many the ops were. they would do an automatic travel from there to there. I chose to say no to that, and I'm going to stick by that for now anyway, until somebody tells me otherwise, because that says among candidates find the travel to priority. That's the travel to priority. So once I've found that, is there a movable cell adjacent to that travel to priority? No, there's not. So we come here. That's how I've done it. So he says, I would not play it like this. Among candidates find travel to priority does not mean, to me at least, to ignore the second priority if the first has no adjacent movable cell. Well, like I say, I pondered on it, but I still don't see that. I still feel that the first part of that is to find the travel to priority. You don't then find the second priority in it just because it's a cell adjacent. That's how he's seeing it anyway, and I'm seeing it the other way. So, it says, so sure, you start by checking if there is any movable cell adjacent to Somalia, which is the first priority, but there's none. So now you check for Iraq, and there are adjacent cells this time, so the bot selects the travel operation. So that's how he sees that. Now, like I say, I thought about it that way. I'm not reading it that way, but I'm happy to be told otherwise. But there's no, like I say, he's saying I would not play it like this. To me, at least, he's certainly not putting it down as like it's a definite answer. Now, if I go maybe Tim or somebody else backing that up, I may then have to accept that. Well, if there's 2 or 3 of you that believe it should be that way, then that's how it should be. Of course, the other thing I could do is go and ask a question, but we're not having an awful lot of joy with going and asking questions, but I might do. So he says, after that, you switch to the flowchart to identify travel to and travel from countries, travel operation, you reset. This is one of the cases where it makes a difference. Travel to is Somalia, poor 1 to 4, possibly regime, and travel from is Syria, Islamist rule. Yeah, okay. I think we've said what we said. I said interesting. I don't think I agree with this though, but I did wonder about it. As you can see in the video, if you watch it, I am sort of doubting that or considering that I should maybe. The fact this is got a cell adjacent. So I'm curious to know anybody else's thoughts on that. But I think after reading it again, when he said that, I thought, let's look at it again. And he's saying that we should stay in this box. Among candidates, there's 2 candidates. Find the travel to priority. That's that one. Does it have a cell adjacent? No. And that's asking that question, so you go no when you come here. What he's saying is, no, but let's go back to the top of this and then find another travel to priority that's got a cell adjacent. Well, you know what? If that's right, I mean, it could well be. I don't know how you would see that in the rulebook, though. I think it is something you need to go asking about. Anyway, yeah. Right, and this is part 37. Sorry if I didn't say already. This is part 37. The 1 hour, 3 minute, 55 second mark. Jean again. I think just making fun of the fact that I've always delved more into it, and then all of a sudden I'm maybe not, or I don't know. It says, that's funny. I thought you would have some doubts regarding the event instructions. The instructions are, yeah. I mean, I think you're just, I don't know. I mean, yeah, we can look at this, and we can, let's me find it. I can't remember what the card is. Right, give me a second. Right, so the card's Boko Haram, card 186. So, let's read the event instructions here. Okay, so, look at the box here that's involved. This other box is for the US bot, by the way. So just the space that's involved in there, I think, could be quite relevant. I don't know if he's just making a joke out of this, or just because I sometimes look at things. But I mean, fair point. in some ways, but you know, I never registered this one at all. I think what he's saying is that he thought it funny that I didn't think about it this way, that I had some doubts about it. I don't think he's saying that this doubt is what should have happened. I think he's saying that he finds it strange that I didn't, you know, think about it this way. So it says, if non-Muslim, priority is to pot 3, then pot 2, then cells. Full stop. Right? If Muslim, priority to cells, then pot 3, then pot 2. Full stop. And then do not return to hand. Let me get the card. So there's the card. That's 30 minutes. So it's a whole hour. This video's a whole hour. It's just a wash. I maybe just no put it out there and just start the next video, mark it part 40 and just not talk about any of this. Because it's starting to get on top of me a bit and it's starting to become a bit too much. But maybe it's because how, I don't know, how you're seeing me play the game and whatever. I don't know. Anyway, in Nigeria, place a level 2 or 3 pot or place up to 3 cells. Each time this event is played, the jihadist player may return this card to hand by discarding a non-US associated 3 ops card. So, each time this event is played, okay? I mean, come on. Man, are you trying to say that it says each time this event is played that they have the option to discard a card to bring this back to their hand? Each time the event's played. There's 2 options here that they've got. If it's non-Muslim, they're going to do that. That's the event. If it's Muslim, they're going to do that. That's the event. Do not return to hand. Come on. Right, I think you're just making fun of me there a bit, to be honest. Saying that I would look more into that, and you know, he's saying, are you sure that the do not return to hand applies to the first line? I think you're just having a laugh, but fair enough. Okay. Right, I think that's it. So I'm going to just get, hang on, there could be something from 38, which is, I just uploaded though, so. Yeah, from Tim. The expansions did not provide updated player aid cards for the US and jihadist operations charts. Yeah, I mean, I've got them. I think I probably would have noticed that, but he's just highlighting the fact that I think I was talking, what was it? Was it regarding militia? No, maybe not that one. Yeah, it was. I can't remember what I was talking about. Was it regarding deploy, I feel? Anyway, what he's saying is these charts haven't been updated with any of the 2 expansions to add anything different. So I suppose you've just got to take all that stuff from the other rules, which is fair enough, you know. Yeah, and Hamler. Now this is part 38, so you're getting close because this is what 40, and I've not done anything in this part anyway. So you've only got 39. And you can see Somalia at the moment has still survived. Although, after reading his comment, I thought, oh, I've got a troop here. So he says, Somalia is going to drag you back to low prestige very quickly since your troops are still there. On the positive side, finally got a successful governance improvements in Afghanistan. Yeah, I just watched that back there. Like I say, I've just released that part. So, Pakistan got back to fair. But yeah, taking note of what he's just said there. Now, where are we? They're about to have a show, aren't they? We're at the new hands. We're at a new turn. Because I glanced over at, when I noticed his comment, I glanced over at Major Jihad there and add resources to funding, if troops, prestige to 1. So we've got a troop in there. And one of them got taken out with a, what is that? Attrition. So in some ways, I think it may have been better if they both got taken out, because it more than likely is going to do a major jihad. Although we've surprisingly survived that up to now, so I don't know. Okay, I think, right, hang on, was there something else I had down here? Oh yeah. Read the event that I must. What one was it? I can't remember. Give me a second. Yeah, it was this one. I didn't read the event description. I think what I'll do that is I'll keep it. I'm just going to stop and start, and then I'm just going to read because I didn't have my tablet handy and whatever. And then finally though, I wanted to mention that something that's not crossed my mind. Now I know it says it highlights certain events that actually do this, but I don't know if that's totally if that's the case completely. And it's regarding the caliphate situation. So, where am I? I might have went over it before, but just briefly here. So the caliphate, basically a capital goes in, they get one resource to start with, which could be important. Remember, we're struggling away here. And I thought, how does a caliphate come in? So I read this bit again. And this tells you, where does it tell you? It tells you down here at the start, doesn't it? So it says, the jihadist player may declare a caliphate anytime an event, not operations, played by either player actually places 3 or more cells into a civil war, regime change, or Islamist rule Muslim country. And I thought, oh my, is that, have I just got lucky and that's just not happened because I've not been thinking about that at all? I think that is the case. So, the big thing in there, it is quite a big thing. It's got to be at least 3 cells, was it? Places 3 or more cells, and it needs to come from an event. It's not just it can't just be like if they had 3 ops and they were doing a recruit operation and they managed to put 3 cells into Somalia. Well, in fact, they'd be auto recruits. So if it was just a recruit operation, that's not counting. It is just an event. So anyway, it gave me a little fright, and I thought, have I forgot any of that? But I think it is. I've just got away with it actually, which has been quite lucky. So. Right, okay. So this whole part has just been me having a rant. Moaning about some of your comments. If I've offended anybody, then I apologise. I don't think I've went that far, although I was slightly concerned at first, but who knows, people might take offence. I mean, it looks like I'm taking offence to some comments, but I will say that sometimes you can see a comment written down, and I mentioned this earlier, someone, that when it's written in a text, a comment of any kind can be very differently interpreted by, and if the person was face to face with you and just spoke, just said something, and I know you're not wanting to, we're trying to play this game together and enjoy it and work out some of the issues and whatever. The other thing I will say, I'm going to go out on in fact, no, hang on. Let me, before I say this, hang on. Yeah, so I was just double checking, because he had sent me a couple of messages privately. So, Jean is from France, and I'm not meaning anything bad by that. I have some relatives in France that live in France, so I actually love France and really enjoy the country. What I suppose I'm maybe saying with that is maybe some of his way of wording some things can come across and maybe rub me up the wrong way. That maybe if we just say that, maybe. So anyway, yeah, I'll leave it at that. And I don't want you to stop making comments and enjoying things as well. I know I'm saying like you're making maybe fun of some of the things and whatever. I mean, I probably ask for a bit of that because I do go on and I do go over things and I do look at things a bit too much and whatever, but some of the other things, let's be a bit more careful about some of the other things. That's maybe just what's best looked at with it. Right, okay. Right, I'm going to end this part. There'll be a big comment and pinned basically saying that there's no gameplay whatsoever in this 30, 60, 70 minutes or something, isn't it? So I'll allow people that aren't interested in all this nonsense to just move on to the next part. I'll be back very soon. Cheers.